Yes, my people, what you man telling me? So I'm just gonna go over this week's potential trades from the first to the third, and yeah, so let's just get cracking. So currently on NQ on my 1 hour chart, you could say price is bearish potentially, depending on how we react with this SMA. But overall, for me personally, I'll say that price is bullish because if we just rewind back, we had this bullish zone. Within this bullish zone, we have created a higher time from SBS, where that's my one, that's the two, this is the 3, 4, 5. We've tapped into an area of supply and demand, or aka a mitigated move origin. From there, we've kind of created a double bottom, and you can see how price starts to move higher, and then potentially internally, you could say that if this is my weak high and this is my protected low, everything inside of this is just internal structure. And what happened? We ended up taking out our internal high. You can see how we've now tapped back into it. So now potentially you have your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now you're hoping that price ends up taking out this high, but also your higher time frame high. So just by looking at that, I'll say that price is theoretically bullish, and all I've got to do is now go into my lower time frame and see if we can get something that's gonna match my higher time frame. So we can see that on our lower time frame, we actually have a bearish zone because we've taken out this low here. So essentially, I need this high to get taken out before I can start looking for anything. But then if I understand that this is my internal protected high, and I understand that this is my internal weak low, internally what are we doing? Internally we are pulling back. So we've taken out this high here. We have also taken out this high here. So internally we're pulling back. Yes, we ended up taking out this internal low. So we just go wait and see if we're gonna end up taking out this low here, or we're gonna end up taking out this high here, and then obviously from there we can kind of scope what we are going to do next. So if I just, so you can see how now we actually ended up taking out this high. So this was a liquidity point per se. If I was to go to my 12 minute, let's see how that looks. So yeah, so if I was to go to my 12 minute time frame, you can see that it was just an area of liquidity where price swept the lows, and you can almost say that it was a what's it called, SBS, where that's your one, that's your two, that's your 3, 4, 5, hoping that price pushes up. Due to due to the SMAs being bearish at the time, I wouldn't have been able to take a trade like this. But now that we've gone above that high, and obviously my 5 minute we are bullish, I can start looking for longs. I could also go down to my 1 minute and see that on my 1 minute it actually looks slightly, I wouldn't say it looks slightly better, but on my 1 minute you can see how we flipped to the upside pretty quickly. But again, we're looking at the same points pretty much. And let's see if we get a pullback. Nope, we don't get a pullback, but you can see how, if I just go back to my 1 hour chart, internally we took out that internal protected low, and then we took out that internal protected high, weak high, and we ended up taking out our external high. So can you see how on different time frames you get different things, however they end up aligning all together? Hence why we use our higher time frame to help us give us a understanding on what price is doing. It gives us a narrative, and then on the lower time frame, depending on where we are within structure, within the SMA and within price, then we can see if we're going to be trading a pullback, if we're going to be trading a continuation, so on. So yeah, so now we've taken out this high. Obviously we've gone way past my trading time, which is cool. But if I just now let price play out, on to the next day, let's just let price do what it needs to do. Oopsie, let me go back. So we're done Wednesday, so I need to do Thursday. Okay, so Thursday. So now we're on my 1 hour chart. So as I had before, this was the zone that we've come from. This was the protected low. that was the weak high that I would like for price to run. We've now ran through that high, so now this is now my new zone here. This is now my new protected low, and we don't currently have a weak high yet, which is completely fine. But now, if there's an area that I would like for price to tap into, there's going to be this area here, and this area is the supply and demand zone responsible, aka SNDR, for causing this market structure break. Without this up, down, up move to take out this previous higher high, we would have never ever had this break of structure or market structure break. Hence why this is an area of supply and demand where price might want to tap into this and continue to make higher highs and higher lows. We don't always come back in, but let's just see what happens. So in terms of SMAs are bullish, structure is bullish. So essentially I want to be looking for potential longs, but I also understand that price might start to, after we take out a previous higher high, we might start to consolidate, or we might, pull back and then, create a new higher high, or we might just keep making our way back down and then ended up taking out our protected low. So it really depends, but overall right now price is bullish. If I go down to my 5-minute time frame, that's what I see as well. If I go to my 12-minute time frame, that is also what I see. So we have this area here, and essentially I would like to see how price reacts off this area before I make any moves. However, I also understand that this can end up being a sweep, where that could end up being my 2, so that could be my 1, 2, 3. It really depends on what really happens. We can only react to what the market gives us. So if I let me just go to my 5-minute chart. So if I go to my 5-minute chart, you guys can see how we've completely ripped through that. And if I go to my 1-hour chart just to see what's happened, nothing yet. Go to 5-minute. So now what? So a lot of people ask me, what happens if my higher time frame the SMAs are bullish, but my low time frame the SMAs are bearish? You have to follow the SMA on whatever time frame you're on. Just because your higher time frame is bullish and then internally the SMAs are bearish on a different time frame, you have to follow whatever time frame you're on. You have to follow the SMA based on that time frame because it's telling you something. So essentially, technically, I should be looking for shorts, or the better setups will be for me to just wait for price to flip long. It really depends on me, on how patient I can be, etc, etc. So if I go to my 1-minute chart, you guys can see how price is basically bearish now. We flipped, got below the SMAs, but let's just see what happens now. So if I let price play out, so we do tap into it ever so lightly, and we technically have created a new zone, but where we have areas where price has not tapped into, this protected high could end up being my 2. But let's just see how price plays out. So yeah, so we sweep it. What's the time? Again, we've gone way past my trading time. We've swept it. However, now it looks like price might start to respect the 200 SMA. If I go down to up to my 12-minute, you can what can you see? You can see that all price done was create a higher time from SPX. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You see that? Price just wanted to tap into this area of supply and demand. That's it. Price is bullish based off this SMA. We had a sweep. We tapped into an area of supply and demand. We failed to create lower lows and lower highs. And what happened? Price started to continue higher. So even in this situation here, let me just remove this for a hot sec. So even in this situation here, bearing in mind I've gone way past my trading time, but even in this situation here, a lot of people always ask me like, what's the entry? What could be an entry? So if this is my last, this is an IB candle here. Can you see that? Because this is an inside bar. We've closed in this high and this low. So all you do is just enter off a buy stop below that candle there, and then obviously you can target whatever. Normally daily targets are 1.3 to 4, but wherever it may be, we can start, of course, moving your stop to break even, and Even this candle here is an IB candle, but the reason why I probably wouldn't use this IB candle is because it's quite large, so I don't want to have a large stop, you know, because now potentially I can only target a 1-to-1 due to that. In terms of, if you're looking at things from a structural point of view, then let's head over to the 1 minute. And when we head over to the 1 minute, you guys can see how we are below the SMAs. You guys can see that for yourself. We internally, what happened? We took out this low here, and then internally again, we ended up taking out this high here. So I already know that price had now flipped in this situation here, but even before we took out this high, you can see that internally, what was price doing from this high to this low? What was price doing? It was making higher highs and higher lows. The only thing that stopped us from taking a trade was the SMAs. But now that we've gotten above the SMAs, what can we start to do? We can start looking for potential trades, looking for potential zones where price might want to tap into and continue to make higher highs and higher lows. So in this situation here now, we have a potential SBS model 1, and if you guys can see it, then look, we have our 1, we have our 2, we have our 3. What did we do? We swept. We have our 4, we have our 5, and you can see how price has now pushed higher, and this is SBS model 1. So there's a trade for you to take everywhere. It's just everything you do has to be within context. Too many people just look for random places, look for random zones. There's no context behind the trade. There's no storyline. There's no pattern. There's no plan. There's no setup. But they think, or they deem for it to be correct. Remember, if you're going to be wrong, the stop loss is going to tell you. You don't have to think you're going to be wrong. Let the stop loss do what it needs to do. But let's just go back to my 12 minute. So if you just let price play out, I don't want to make this video too long because I'm basically doing 3 days in compact. But as we let price push out, we end up taking out our previous higher high, and that's essentially the target, right? But even on our 12-minute time frame, what do we end up doing? We end up creating another SBS model 1, where this is my 1, this is my 2, this is my 3, this is my 4, this is my 5. And even so, technically this is an IB candle because we didn't close below the low. So we will do is just move your stop to the low of that candle there, and you can see how this trade wins with flying colors if you're looking for a 1.5 RR, and that could have been you done for the day. And all that's come from is just understanding where you are within price, guys. Following the SMAs, following internal and external structure, understanding where you are, looking at potential, your plan. In terms of RSI, I mean, we even do have RSI here technically, because this area is higher, but we don't even need that for now. And again, like, if you don't see this, let's just head over to our 1-minute chart, and then on our 1-minute chart, so look, on our 1-minute chart, what did we end up doing? Coming back to sweep the previous SBS model 1, but in this situation, what would you do? You wouldn't take a trade because we've now gone below the SMA, which is completely fine. So look, internally, what I'm doing, took out this low, ended up taking out the high, got back above the SMA, took out this high here. What did you end up doing? Pulling back. What did you do? Tapped into this area of supply and demand, or unmitigated mover. Let me just move that. Ended up tapping into this unmitigated mover region, and you can see for yourself, we created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, created like a double bottom. Price was higher. You wasn't happy with that, no problem. What did you end up doing? We ended up taking out this high, if I'm correct. Yep. And then in this situation here, what do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. what happens? Price ends up taking out our previous higher high. Yes, I don't make the rules, guys. You know, and in this situation here, there's no real pullback, but we ended up taking out this high here. And in this situation, what is this? SBS model 1, where this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and what happened? We've taken out our previous higher high, and then what happened here? We pull back, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in this situation, you lose. But now, what's happened? If I just go back to my, let's go to the 5-minute chart quickly. So if I now just go to my 5-minute chart, all we done was create SBS model 1, where now price is facilitating a higher time frame. Let's see what it looks like on a 12. Yeah, so on a higher time frame, we haven't quite, let me just double check that. So on a higher time frame, yeah, we have closed above our previous high, but I wouldn't class, I mean, you can, but I think the 5-minute just looks a little bit more cleaner in terms of what we are looking for. And then if you let price play out, what happens? We end up taking out our previous higher high right there. So there was about 4 or 5 trades that you could have taken back to back. There was one loser in there on a 1-minute chart, but remember, a 1-minute chart is for entry confirmations. It's to see price switching order flow. So even in this situation here, like I said, we just facilitate a higher time from SBS, where this was the 1, this was the 2, this was the 3, this was the 4, 5. You probably wouldn't have taken this because we got below, but then internally what happened? We started to flip, where that could be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ended up taking out this high there. So there are trades for you to take. I don't know why people get confused all the time. SBS is just a sequence. We still look for other things to help us get into specific trades. And last but not least, Friday. Let me just quickly go to the 5-minute chart. Okay, stop right there. 3 o'clock. Yeah. So now let's just go to the 1 hour chart. So on Friday, yeah, so we're basically still bullish, you know, taking out this high there. Of course, we have technically taken out this high as well. So I mean, I can look for a reaction within this zone here, but I also understand that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I also understand that this protected low can be a liquidity point, because we haven't even tapped into this area of supply and demand, which was the supply and demand zone responsible for causing this market structure break. So for the chances of this holding, it's probably going to be slim. But even if it does, what's going to happen? We're going to end up taking my previous higher high, and all I've got to do is draw a new zone and look for the same things over and over again. So when I let price play out, yep, as I said, we took that out. So now in this situation, let me just move this one. Let me go to 12 minutes. So in this situation here, this is now my 2. That's the sweep. We've now below the SMAs on my 12 minute, on my 5 minute below the SMAs, on my 1 minute below the SMAs. But let's just see how price flips. Let's see how price changes, and then obviously that was the current market. So not much has gone on since on Friday, but in this situation here now, what would I like? So right now internally we are bearish, externally we are bullish. So internally we've taken out this low. So internally I need price to technically take out this high, and then I can start looking for a trade. If I go to my 1, that flip might happen a little bit more quicker, where I can use this high instead, where price takes out that high, gets above the SMAs, and then I can start looking for a trade. But yeah, so that's about it really. There's not much that went on Friday, to be fair. I was expecting a little bit more. Is what it is. But for the month of October, let's smash it. And as I always say, victory belongs to the most tenacious. Wherever in the world, I'm wishing you guys a good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening, and a good night. And I'll see you lots on Monday. Peace.